She was young, beautiful, and full of life, until one night, she vanished without a trace. No scream, no struggle, just a car left missing and a single earring on the garage floor. What really happened to Kim Antonakos? The truth was buried in fire, betrayal, and a plan so twisted even her killers didn't see the ending coming. On February 28, 1995, 20-year-old Kim Antonakos sat in front of her mirror, getting ready to go out for the night in Brooklyn, New York. Kim had long, curly brown hair that matched her brown eyes, which were actually the only part of her appearance that she was never happy with. So she put on her favorite pair of gold earrings and leaned in close to the mirror to add the finishing touch, her blue contact lenses. Putting in those blue contacts made Kim feel like a different person. By day, she was a reserved college student who studied, did well in school, and worked hard at her part-time job. But by night, she was free and a bit wild. Kim took a final look in the mirror and then walked through her ground-floor apartment. She looked over and saw her friends, April Deedley and Josh Torres, sitting on the couch watching TV. April told Kim how pretty she looked and told her to go out and have a great time. April and Josh had been staying at Kim's place with their 2-year-old son for the last couple of weeks, while the floors got refinished in their apartment. Kim loved getting to spend time with April and her little boy, but really she was glad that Josh was there. Having a strong man in the apartment made her feel safer. In early January of that year, Kim had met a guy named Vladek, who went by the nickname Psycho. He was Russian, good-looking, and older than Kim. At first, he seemed fun and laid back, but recently that had changed. Kim said goodnight, put her coat on, and walked outside. She scanned the street for strange cars or headlights. A month earlier, Kim and Psycho had taken a quick trip to Florida. She thought it was casual, but Psycho got her name tattooed on his leg and proposed when they returned. Kim broke up with him immediately. But since then, he had been stalking her, calling constantly and showing up at her apartment, angry and jealous, especially after learning she was back with an ex-boyfriend. She took a deep breath, opened her garage, got into her white Honda Civic, and cranked up the stereo. She drove about 15 blocks to pick up her friend. After dinner, they ended up at a club and danced until it closed at 4 a.m. on March 1st. Kim dropped her friend off and drove home, exhausted but in good spirits. She pulled into her garage, her eyes burning from her blue contacts. As she stepped out of the car, she froze. She heard something in the darkness. She turned, saw nothing, and then heard a noise on the other side of the garage. Terrified, she clutched her keys and rushed toward the open garage door. Later that day at 4 p.m., Kim's father, Tommy Antonakos, knocked on her apartment door. April opened up with her son in her arms. Tommy looked upset. He hadn't heard from Kim all day. April and Josh hadn't heard from her since she left the night before. They assumed she'd stayed over with someone, but when Tommy said she didn't show up for work, they were concerned. Kim was responsible and would never miss work without calling. Her phone, rare for the time, was off. Tommy had only received a message with static on his answering machine. Josh suggested checking the garage, but her white Honda Civic wasn't there. Tommy went straight to the police. Officers initially said it was too soon for a missing persons report, but seeing how distraught Tommy was, they agreed to check the apartment and garage. At the garage, one officer found a gold earring on the ground. Tommy was convinced something bad had happened. Tommy gave them a photo of Kim and described her tattoos, a scorpion on her left thigh and an infinity symbol on her lower back. Police issued a search for her vehicle. April contacted Kim's friend, who confirmed that Kim had dropped her off at 4 a.m. and was fine. Tommy became convinced Kim had been taken in the garage. He and Josh started putting up missing person flyers. On March 3rd, Kim's mother arrived in Brooklyn and visited a psychic, who said Kim was alive but tied up in a cold, dark place, maybe a basement. The psychic also said she saw the letter T. Later that day, Kim's mom played the recording for April, Josh, and Kim's ex-boyfriend, Jay Negron. April believed the letter T pointed to Tommy. At 2 a.m. on March 4th, a man in Queens woke up smelling smoke. He called 911 when he saw an abandoned house on fire. Firefighters quickly extinguished the flames and searched the house. In the basement, they found the charred body of a woman tied to a chair with remnants of duct tape on her wrists. She had a scorpion tattoo on her thigh and an infinity symbol on her lower back. Detectives Louis Pia and Tom Shelvin were called. Dental records later confirmed the body was Kim Antonakos. Pia and Shelvin questioned April and Josh, who mentioned Kim's ex-boyfriend Psycho as dangerous and obsessed. Psycho was out on bail from a statutory rape charge and had mob ties. They questioned him, but Psycho denied knowing Kim until they confronted him with his KIM tattoo. He then admitted knowing her but denied involvement. He was released but placed under surveillance. They also interviewed Jay, who pointed the finger at Tommy, claiming he had mafia connections. The detectives followed up, but Tommy denied any involvement. He said he had no ties to the mafia beyond knowing some of John Gotti's people in passing. Tommy owned a fire insurance company, and detectives considered whether he could have covered up the crime. But they eventually ruled him out. 3 months passed with no progress. Then, in June 1995, another body was found. Mafia-style execution. That victim lived directly behind the abandoned house where Kim had been found. He had ties to both Josh and Jay. On September 3rd, 6 months after Kim's death, a bruised woman named Blondie showed up at the police station. After a fight, her boyfriend had hit her with a shovel, stolen her motorcycle, and before leaving told her, "I already set one woman on fire. I'll do it again." Her boyfriend was Josh Torres. Blondie's tip broke the case wide open. Based on her info and other evidence, detectives reconstructed what happened. On March 1st at 4 a.m., Kim was ambushed in her garage by 2 kidnappers wearing black and masks. She fought back but was overpowered, duct-taped, and thrown into her trunk. They drove her to an abandoned house in Queens, dragged her to the basement, and tied her to a chair. Kim remained in the basement for 36 hours, freezing and starving. On March 4th, Josh returned with a gas can. Believing Kim was dead from hypothermia, he said, "Shit happens, life sucks," and lit her on fire. The motive? Josh wanted Kim's car. Jay helped with the plan because he was bitter over Kim not loving him back. They hired 2 men to do the kidnapping, planning to extort $75,000 from Tommy. They left a pre-recorded ransom message, but it was lost to static on Tommy's answering machine. The psychic's mention of the letter J terrified Josh and Jay. They went to the house and found Kim appearing dead. Josh burned her to cover up the crime. Josh was arrested, convicted of kidnapping and murder, and sentenced to 58 years to life. Jay cut a deal and served 2 years. Kim Antonakos deserved a future, not fire, not fear. But ironically, she met both at the hands of the same man she laughed with. The one she felt safest around, that very man, Josh, had her kidnapped, tied to a chair, poured gasoline on her, and set her on fire. Not a stranger, not some monster in the dark, but someone she trusted. And all for what? A car? Kim fought to survive. And even in death, her story didn't stay buried. It rose from the ashes, piece by piece, until the truth burned brighter than the lie. If this story moved you, don't just scroll away. Subscribe. Because there are more stories like Kim's, and they deserve to be told. Until next time, bye for now.